CONK and welcome to the CONK Party! To celebrate 100 subscribers in the Timber Army. Yep, I made the announcement and I knew it was going to happen. And here it is. So like I said, it's going to be split into 5 different parts. You really can't see my hand, but it represents 5 different parts, okay? So, for this first part of the CONK Party, I might as well do some CONK views. You remember Conkeldurr 84's CONK views, the series that was short-lived? Well, for this episode, I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of shows all at once. Just basically my opinion on them. Not like a certain show on a CONK view that I mostly hated. We're getting off track. So basically, we are going to be doing shows, basically, from Nickelodeon and Cartoonito. If you don't know what that is, I'll explain it in a sec, okay? So without further ado, let's begin with some Nickelodeon shows, besides Baby Shark, that I mostly remember. There's 2 that stick out to me, so we're gonna start with those just to get them out of the way. So let's get started with Blue's Clues and You. Blue's Clues and You. Where to start with this? You see, back in the 90s, Blue's Clues was a big thing. In this show, you see this guy in the green shirt, whose name is Steve, along with this blue puppy named Blue. And they basically just scurry around the house looking for these paw prints, or as they call, clues. Which leaves me wondering, how does Blue actually put those paw prints everywhere? Did he just dip his paw in blue paint or into ink? Now that's left me wondering. Well, Blue's Clues and You is basically a revival of that one show. I mean, it's got 2 different hosts. We got Steve, we got Joe, and best of all, we get Josh. Josh. Yeah, we got 3 different hosts for probably 2 or 5 different seasons. So basically, Blue's Clues and You is basically a whole CGI makeover of what we saw in the decade or 2. But now, Blue's gotten a whole CGI makeover. And there's not just Josh and Blue and Steve and Joe. There's a lot of other side characters too, like anthropomorphic salt and pepper, anthropomorphic clocks, anthropomorphic drawers, even an anthropomorphic mailbox. Wow, a lot of anthropomorphic objects. I might want to stop by that house now. So what are my thoughts on Blue's Clues and You? It's a nice revival of the original Blue's Clues. I mean, sure, it's gotten a whole CGI makeover, but at least it kept some joy we had from the 90s. And best of all, Blue's 25th anniversary was actually a celebration of that one show. But best of all, Blue's Clues is getting a movie. I'm not joking, Blue's Clues is actually getting a movie. Okay, so first Dora the Explorer got a movie, and now Blue's Clues is getting a movie. Oh yeah, and Paw Patrol got a movie as well. Man. Is Nickelodeon just gonna make every single Nick Jr. show a movie? If so, then sign me up! So the second Nickelodeon show that just came out, in mind, was actually quite enjoyable once I first saw the first episode. If you probably remember the 90s Nick Jr. era, then you probably know who this is. This is Face, the mascot of Nick Jr. in the 90s and probably the late 2000s. Face was sort of probably a mascot for Nick Jr., serving as the host for many different segments, lots of bumpers, and lots of intermissions too. It basically tugged on everyone's heartstrings, young and old. But we still love him to this day. But sadly, once we entered 2010 and beyond, there was no seeing Face again. Until now. In 2022, we got Face's Music Party, combining CGI and animation, and the host with the most we all know and love, Face, who is now voiced by Cedric Williams. Gotta admit, he does a pretty good job on voicing Face. And I just like how in the first episode he referenced the OG Face from the 90s. That was a nice touch. Well, you could say Face got a facelift. 10 out of 10 jokes here, Jim Army. 10 out of 10 right there. So what are my thoughts on the show? Well, there are some things that I enjoyed, like the animation to the live action is actually quite enjoyable, I'd say. But there is a down. I mean, sure, we got a few old songs from old Nick Jr. shows. That was a pretty nice touch, too. Like, a Backyardigans song that basically became a meme. And, of course, we also get songs by other artists, too. Why did they have to go that route? Not gonna lie, it works, but it just works. Anyway, now we're going to be moving on to the channel we were all going to be seeing, Cartoonito. Who doesn't remember Cartoonito? No, not that Cartoonito. This Cartoonito. Cartoonito came out in 2022 as part of a Cartoon Network lineup. Question mark? Cartoonito, you see, was a preschool block. It had a lot of different kids shows from, like, maybe the past and the present, too. Like, Caillou, Mush Mush and the Mushables, whatever that is, and this mess, which I actually covered in a past CONK view. So, I'll be mentioning a few Cartoonito shows. Some that are coming soon, and some that have already been released. So let's get started with Sesame Street. Who doesn't remember Sesame Street? It's basically the childhood we all grew up with. I mean, who doesn't remember Elmo? Or Grover? Or Cookie Monster? So you see, Sesame Street got a lot of spin-offs. Oh, I'm not lying, they had a lot of spin-offs. But the two that stood out mostly that were on Cartoonito was the Not Too Late Show with Elmo, where basically Elmo stepped in for Jimmy Fallon, without the rude language. And we get this, Sesame Street Mecha Builders. Sesame Street Mecha Builders. Basically, it's Robot Sesame Street. They took Elmo, Abby, Cookie Monster, and gave them an entire robotic makeover. And you thought they would transform, but nope, they've got tools, which is way better. So you see, Abby's got jets, Elmo's got rolly things, but Elmo, are you sure you just don't want to call them wheels? I mean, they're called wheels. Okay, fine, I'll leave you that. A Cookie Monster has a handy hammer hand. Try saying that 5 times fast. So basically, another thing they can do is turn small and big at will. Oh, I'm sorry. They go mecha tiny to mecha giant. There, are you happy now? So anyway, this show's nice. I mean, I would really like to see him in a combined form. That I would love to see. Oh yeah. And did you know that Cartoonito actually turned Ellen DeGeneres into a kids show? Because that was a thing. And there was actually some upcoming stuff too coming from Cartoonito. I mean, every single old Warner Brothers cartoon is getting an entire preschool show makeover. I mean, Looney Tunes is getting the treatment, Tom and Jerry's getting the treatment, and even Scooby-Doo is getting the treatment. Why does it feel like it's gonna be a Paw Patrol ripoff? I'm scared now. Oh yeah, and there was also Bat Wheels. Yeah, do you remember when Disney Jr. made Spidey and His Amazing Friends, making Spider-Man a kid? Well, guess what? For DC, they decided to take the same role, but instead of spiders, it's an anthropomorphic Batmobile! what is the world we live in? Although how weird this might look, I'm actually excited to see how Batwheels turns out. So to sum things up, Cartoonito is basically good and bad at the same time. Why is it bad? Because it included all engines go. It sucks! Don't believe me? Check out the CONK view. But what's the good on it? It has some kid shows that are worth watching, while others, not so much. So yeah, that was the first episode of the CONK Party. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you liked this trip down memory and garbage lane, kind of both, then hit like, subscribe, leave a comment right down below on your thoughts. And this is Conkeldurr 84 signing off from part 1 of the CONK Party. See you in part 2.